I think we're live.
That's what it says.
We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Dice Must Flow, and we're going to start a new series of episodes tonight. We're calling it Sigmar and Son, and I guess I'm getting to play the role of Sigmar.
And I guess that makes me Son.
Yeah, my son Mark. So we've went and we've been playing some Age of Sigmar, and what we're going to try and do with this show is just kind of go through, keep up with the news, rumors, things going on, and really share what we're doing in the hobby, and share as we learn how to play maybe competitively and information about the game. Go ahead and try and learn how to do that and share that with you guys. So that's
go on.
Go ahead, Mark.
I was just saying, I think it's important to note. I mean, we're not expert players, so take everything we say with a grain of salt. It's just our opinions,
Right. And so, basically, like I said, the goal of the show is for us to learn, and hopefully you guys can learn along with us. I have talked to several people in the community, and we're going to get them to come on the show and hopefully share some knowledge about what how to deal with the tournaments and things like that. And so I guess starting off, we thought we'd tell you a little bit about what we play, and I'll go ahead and let Mark go and talk about what he plays in AOS.
All right. So, like my dad said, I am Mark and I am Son, and in AOS, I play Skaven. I was playing Skaven in the previous edition of Warhammer when it was Warhammer Fantasy, and it was the rank and flank style. I picked it up with me and my dad picked it up with the Isle of Blood starter set. I believe that's what it's called, and it was just kind of like, well, I guess I'll play these rats, and I actually turned out to really like them. So I play rats, and I think it's important to know that rats spelled backwards is star.
Nice. So as Mark said, we've really started in 8th edition, and mostly I have a large assorted amount of chaos, and I haven't really played much of that in AOS because what I do have has a tendency to not I guess synergize in AOS very well. I've got, in 8th edition, you could take Tzeentch and mix it with Khorne and mix it with Nurgle, and you sort of take the best and have that. And so I got a lot of varied units. I guess now they're really slaves of darkness, but an old Chimera and a Slaughter Beast, and it just doesn't go well together. I'm working on trying to put that together, and probably going to build a Nurgle force out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I do have some of the Nurgle stuff with the Glotkin, which I need to get painted, and other things. And then the army that I truly love, just love the look of, and started really about the time they did End Times, was the Tomb Kings. And so unfortunately, I felt the Tomb King cut, because I had about half the army at the time it was discontinued. And so I've been able to gather most of it, and really do think that the Tomb Kings kind of got the best and the worst of news with Age of Sigmar, because the army got so much better with the war scrolls that were given out in Age of Sigmar. But I got the bad news that we're not going to make your miniatures anymore.
Well, we can hope that'll change one day, right?
Yeah, maybe with the news from AdeptiCon with the legacy armies, they will go ahead and make those changes. So
yeah, I think it's back in fantasy you like my dad said, you just take mixed stuff and mix chaos, and it was play the good stuff. Now with the battalions, it kind of pigeonholes you into forcing these synergistic battalions and getting more synergies off your units rather than just playing the best units in a 2,000 point army.
Right. It's all the keywords that go together, and the powers that say they affect certain things with certain keywords. That's what's so important, at least. So let's go ahead and go into a little bit of the news. And I'm sure anybody who actually knows anything or has followed anything with Age of Sigmar knows that the Idoneth Deepkin are all the rage, and the first wave of pre-orders was available today, actually. And so I guess I was going to go ahead and share some of these, but basically we have the Namarti Thralls, the Lotan, which is sort of a named character with an octopus. And let me try and share the screen here as we get some of them. Move that over there and screen share that. Oh, I can't do anything.
You need me to do it?
No, I got it.
All right.
Okay, so that is the Namarti Thralls, and you can see them. And one of the things we saw was that these guys do not have a musician, which I guess makes sense, but they do have essentially a banner.
How are you going to play music underwater anyway, right?
Well, sound travels underwater. Next up for pre-order was Lotan, and this is the named character, and it's really kind of cool. He's got this octopus that defends him. He's got a potion here. He's got the scroll. I'm going to say it's not a potion, actually. It's an inkwell from what I read. And this guy is going to be able to buff the thralls.
Yeah, the octopus actually has gives him like a disgustingly resilient-esque ability where on a 5 or 6 up, you get like a 5 or 6 up ward save against any wound.
Right. And so as we're going through these, I'm not really going to try and go into too much about what each of these are. I think we're going to do a future episode where we're going to go through the war scrolls and everything. Next up, we got the Eidolon of Mathland. I don't know how to pronounce it. Affectionately in our household here, we call him Aquaman.
Yes.
Mark is a huge Aquaman fan. You may have guessed I'm a Spider-Man fan, by the way. Anyway, this guy just looks incredible. And if you've been able to get a peek at his war scroll, he looks incredibly powerful. Yeah,
this one looks to be the Eidolon of Mathland aspect of the sea. He's got the trident and the little, like, I guess, scepter.
Right.
Where the other one it has a spear. It's not a trident.
Right. And he's so this is the mage one, if I
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's the Gloomtide Shipwreck, which is also for pre-order. And this is a terrain piece. And I think that basically this is going to be like the tree or the
feculent
normal, where anybody within a range of it is going to get buffed somehow. Mark, do you know more about it?
Yeah, it has. Let me pull up its war scroll. So it's very similar to the feculent normal in the fact that so it has an ability called Guardians of the Deep and Predators of Aether Sea. Guardians of the Deep lets you so you roll a dice each time a wound or mortal wound is allocated to one of your units, wholly within 6 inches. So you can't do that conga lining stuff that a lot of people do in Age of Sigmar. So on a 6+, the wound is negated, and then at the start of your hero phase, this is the Predators part. At the start of your hero phase, you get to roll a die for each unit within 3 inches of the terrain feature. You do not roll for Deepkin units. On a 4+, the unit suffers a mortal wound. On a 6+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds instead. So it's got that. It doesn't have the healing like the feculent normal has, but it does have a protection aspect with it. Kind of like how the feculent normal has, and a damage aspect. And I think, what do you think moving forward? Do you think that these terrain features are going to be a overarching theme for new armies?
I do think so. Yeah, it seems like they'll have the normal that they've added, and this, and I think that that they will continue to do that. I think it adds a lot to the game.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's just good flavor and stuff too, you know, and it helps the board a lot.
So next up is, I guess, the the battle tome for this, where we're going to get all the fluff. I should say the fluff, the lore, and I think this picture actually shows maybe an advanced one where you can get some of these counters.
Yeah, this is actually the War Scroll cards and the counters, but
cards and the counters. Yeah. So so basically, you're going to have the battle tome. You're going to have War scroll cards. You're going to have some things that I'm skipping past. I skipped past them all. Don't have pictures of it. There's going to be a new paints, and for the I guess the thralls, kind of that white color.
It's kind of a lighter Rakarth flesh, if you're familiar with that paint.
Yeah. So gonna jump over to the pre-order page. Yeah, you can see, and here's kind of the colors that you can see. And finally, they have a new dice, which I don't know. I'm a big GW fan, but I do not like these dice. Man, they're just going to be hard to read.
Yeah,
I just like the 1 to 6 and the clear with the seeing the stuff through the die. Kind of a neat concept, but I hope my opponent would never use those.
Yeah, I think these dice kind of encompass the entire army, where either you love them or you hate them, because that's kind of the reactions I get with this whole entire army. Either, I mean, it's I think Vince said it best in his Warhammer Weekly. He's like, I mean, this army for some people is a 10 out of 10, and it is just like, it gets you into the game and you're going to have so much fun playing it. And then some people just, they wanted something else. For me, it's a 10. I mean, I went and pre-ordered everything today, so.
Right. So I was going to try and jump back through some of these images here. I think I was screen sharing, and I apologize for that, and not sharing with everybody, just sharing with you. So again, we'll just quickly go. Here's the Namarti Thralls. Here's the Lotan. And the Eidolon of Mathlan, the ship, and these are the War Scroll cards, and basically for the
you were sharing with everyone, I believe.
Okay. Interesting. So I stopped screen sharing. All right. So. Yeah. One of the things you brought up is one of the things I wanted to talk about as we kind of get into a little bit of tactics talk. You brought up the whole Congo line.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I should tell everybody, we did, Mark and I went to AdeptiCon, met a lot with the community, and learned a whole lot about really how this game plays versus the way we've been kind of playing it with friends or locally. And it seems like that the Congo line is, where you're having a whole bunch of units spread across the whole table. And I guess we tended to still play, sort of 8th edition. We would have our block and move our block forward.
We just ran crap in the middle of the board and fought, really. I mean,
right. But I'm just saying it would be, you would pile in and stuff, but you wouldn't have this strategic. And so now with the Age of Sigmar, there's this idea that you can, I guess they call it bubble wrap, where you basically you're spreading your force in a line all across the board in different areas, keeping within 1 inch of each other for the cohesion when you deploy. But then it keeps other people from getting into those areas, because there are certain forces that can teleport or come up, like the Tombkins can come up underneath the sand, but you have to come up within 9 inches away from an enemy unit. And so by the careful placement and making this Congo line type thing, you are able to prevent people from getting onto your back edge of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I guess some of that stuff works is because, like you mentioned, at least in this rule book, it was wholly within. They were talking about the rule said the unit had to be wholly within. So that would be everybody in the unit had to be within them. But a lot of times it basically says like, for example, the Tomb King Cetra or the Tomb King on Exalted Chariot or whatever says that he'll affect a unit within 18 inches. And so if one guy in that unit is within 18 inches, that whole unit is affected.
Mm-hmm.
So people you can try and build that Congo line out from that one guy that's within range. And so that's kind of an interesting was an eye-opening thing for me to see that. And also, I guess I saw it with some of the armies where like the KO Caradrian Overlords would just have a line of shooters across the whole front of the army.
Mm-hmm.
And then their other guys would be behind them. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that Tom has a great thing on the Grand Alliance's website about kind of the whole buffing stuff with the Conga lining from his AdeptiCon trip last year. He has a pretty good write-up about it if you want to go look for that.
Right, and so that, for people who don't know, that's Tom from Warhammer Weekly. And he's one of the people we're going to get on the show and try and get him to talk about that and or some of his theories. He certainly has a lot of great information about how to make the game very strategic. We're going to get I know I've talked to Vince to come on and talk Tomb Kings, because one of the things I was doing during trying to get my run up to Adepticon is that I was trying to figure out the Tomb King force to run, and pretty much a lot of the stuff I saw was where people had run it prior to the General's Handbook 2017 change, where they sort of made it the generic Desert Legions.
The nerf.
And they kind of nerfed it, yeah. So they raised points on some units and took away some powers at the same time. So I guess a little bit more we wanted to talk about kind of what we've been working on recently. As you can see in the background for me, I've been, I call it Paint by Duncan.
Similar to Paint by Numbers.
Yeah, Paint by Numbers, except I just followed the Duncan video here. And kind of really didn't want to put a lot of thought into anything or trying to figure out what to start new. Sort of waiting for the Deepkin, as Mark mentioned. I think we're both all in on that. Really just cool looking army.
Mm-hmm.
And so just started to try and keep a little bit of the hobby mojo by doing some terrain. And so that's what I've been doing. Mark, have you been doing anything?
I am a slacker, and I unfortunately have not been doing anything.
Yeah, well, you ordered Deepkin today.
Yeah, that's my hobby.
So
my hobbying for the week.
So I guess I wanted to just talk about a little bit about Adepticon and what we learned going into it. And I guess the big thing was, I guess, a display board. Well, how do I want to say this? I had a lot of difficulty trying to figure out what we should be doing for Adepticon. I know that the Adepticon website has a lot of information. And by the way, Alex and Dave from Garagehammer ran, Alex ran the tournament, and I think he did a fabulous job. There was a huge amount of tables, and everything was very well organized at Adepticon. But I do think that there are some problems, and that is, I think the community just sort of assumes that you know what you're supposed to do. And we were both noobs to the whole thing, and to be honest, didn't know what to do. Like the day before or the week before the convention, we you know, I basically heard rumor or saw pictures of people talking about their display boards. And so I kind of asked, hey, what's a display board? Well, it turns out that a display board is a nice board or piece of terrain or something you can make. They're going to put your army on. And so basically your army is going to be scored by judges, paint judges. And that is part of your game. And of course the dog is barking because it's a rule you get on a live stream, the dog barks.
And drops his bone.
So, yeah, so taking a step back, at AdeptiCon, you have your battle score, your paint score, and a sportsman score. And I don't want to get into the sportsman or anything, but basically, part of your paint score is this display board. And there's really no information about what a display board is or should be. And so I kind of found that was difficult, and really found it was difficult to try and find out how or what the paint score should be, or what you needed to be doing for painting.
Yeah, how it's scored, how it's scored, what gives the most points, you know, all that stuff.
I did go to Twitter and found and got a paint score thing sent to me from the previous year, and that's where the display board stuff really came from. And it was like, well, what do we do, you know? So I actually had some Warhammer Realm of battle boards, and that's what we used, and we got a couple points for those, I think. I don't think we got max points because we didn't, you know, we didn't have anything elaborate. And I tell you, I do have a video of the armies of Adepticon that I put together and have out on the channel. And there's really just some amazing stuff that people have done, and hours and full dioramas. And I know Tom from Warhammer Weekly. I mean, my gosh, his was like a whole dwarven inside of a ship or something. I mean, it was just several feet tall and just crazy. I don't know how he did it. So yeah, the display board, that was something that you need to do. And in talking to people, some people basically just built they said one of the best ways to do is get like a cork board, you know, one of the things that you push the pins into that you might hang up on the wall. So it's a framed piece of cork, and start with that. And then just, you know, put sand or whatever terrain type stuff that you wanted to do, and build your board that way. Other people use the, you know, the foam, like from Lowe's and stuff to build all sorts of terrain and everything. So that was pretty interesting, seeing all that and trying to learn about what a display board is, and what to do for those. I guess the other thing was the whole paint score.
Similar to the display board.
Similar to the display board, where you're not really sure. I wasn't really sure what to do. I mean, the display board was part of the paint score. But at Adepticon, it was, and I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but I mean, at Adepticon, it was difficult to figure out. But basically, you had, what was it, a paint score of 50 points, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you had graded up to 25 and then doubled or something. But basically, if you didn't have conversions, then it was difficult for you to get
full points
for your paint score. So Mark, actually, because he was running Skaven and had done these Storm Fiends, which we have a video about how we did those, basically every one of his models had a conversion on it. And so he got a lot of points for paint scores. Now, I had Tomb Kings, and they're pretty much all by the book, even though I had hundreds of models that I had done a lot more work on, right? I got a lower paint score. So I'm bitter, I guess is what I'm saying. So yeah, but I didn't realize that you really needed to do conversions. So now I'm thinking about if I would take that army, what kind of conversions would I do? And I'm actually thinking, and I don't know how crazy this is, but I'm thinking of getting like some skeletal triceratops and using them for like the war kitty for the Tomb King. So basically put some skeletons up on top of a skeletal triceratops instead of the Sphinx.
I've seen if you want to keep the whole like GW, like Games Workshop everything. I think I've seen people use the big elephants from Lord of the Rings, and they've put basically like the carriage on top, and then you have the guys, and then you just have like a big elephant, like a I don't know, like a, I guess, African savanna elephant as your kitty or whatever, the thing it's riding.
Yeah, the Sphinx.
I mean, similar to a skeleton. I mean, it's just something else to mount it on to get some conversion points.
Interesting. So I guess that's kind of all I was going to go into. I do think that you know, the other thing with AdeptiCon was learning to play, not learning to play, but playing base to base. You know, at first I was a little aggravated, I don't know what the right word is, because I had to rebase my entire army. And I'm like, hey, bases really don't matter, you know, according to the rules. But I really do think that moving forward, they're going to eventually come out and say, hey, you got to use the round bases. And it's just so much easier to push base to base than try and measure, oh, this guy's sword is hanging this far out, and things like that. So in retrospect, I think that was
honestly, circle bases look a lot better, and your army just looks a lot better right now too, though, Dad. So I mean, it's it was annoying, but it also looks better. So give and take, right?
Right. And I also am going to try. I did order a new from Green Stuff World, sort of the Egyptian roller, and you know, the bases I made were really just MDF bases with
some GW
texture paint, dry brushed and washed to try and make it look sort of deserty. But yeah, they didn't really look. I mean, they looked okay, but not as good as they could. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm feeling the competitive juices of getting my army looking better. And that's even if I'm going to run it again. I don't know. And I guess I'll make one more observation kind of before we go. But you know, and I know Tom and Vince talk about this all the time on their show, but the whole number of drops in battalions. And I think we should probably do a whole show about that.
And you're the opposite.
But my force obviously didn't have battalions. And so I was like a 12 or 13 drop, which meant it took me 12 or 13 when you in Age of Sigmar, you take turns deploying. First player deploys a unit, second player deploys a unit. And whoever basically gets done first is going to choose whether they want to take the first turn or they want their opponent to take the first turn. And so pretty much I was always taking the turn that was the most disadvantageous for me, if that makes any sense, because I had more drops than almost everybody at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was a shooty army I was facing, they would take the first turn and shoot you off the board. Or if it was a army, for example, like a corn type army, they would make you go, and you were really not able to get a charge or shots off on them, and then they would hit you. And so that was, I guess, a problem I faced all weekend. And I know Mark had a different situation because he cheated.
I didn't cheat. I played a 1-drop.
Right. So he played a 2-drop, or I don't know, 1 or 2.
Yeah, I played 2-drop. I played the Goutfire. I played the Clan Scryer, I guess it is, with the 2 engine covens. I had the Archspark Voltic, which was pretty crappy in retrospect, and then the Goutfire Scorch Coven, which is it's really good. You just get to deep strike your entire army. So I was just deep striking in 9 Storm Fiends in all the time. But it kind of sucked because I had a very low model count army and the objectives were not nice to me.
Right. So yeah, he had the ability to basically take his army and not put it on the board, and then just sort of pop up and shoot people, which was effective in tabling his opponent a lot, but not effective in gathering the objectives, and the objectives were all the objective points.
Yeah. Fun fact about the tournament, I tabled my opponent and lost.
Right. So anyway, I think that's basically it for now. We wanted to just kind of start with an introduction of the show and what we're going to talk about. I know that there will be more Deepkin coming out. We've seen some videos where there's the guys on the sharks and the guys on the sort of the
eels
that you can see on this on the card that they it's on the battalion, and the eel riders,
king something,
and anything else. I'm not trying to figure out what. See if I can.
The giant turtle, obviously.
Oh yeah, the turtle is just. But I'm just really looking forward to that. So going back to the screen, my screen is blinking up and down.
Yeah, you got some crazy stuff happening over there. You want me to try and share?
No. There we go.
There we go.
So yeah, we're just going back to Age of Sigmar, and you can see all the stuff that they have. But basically, I was saying you can look at this guy here, and you can see him riding that horse, and you can see more of them. This is what they've got available.
Well, it looks like I think everything's been revealed, so it's just what is their rules going to be, right? So, right.
So, you can actually go and look at these rules now. If you go and you can click on the Idolin of Mathland and go hit the downloads, and I'm doing it now, where you can basically pull up the war scroll for him. But what we don't have is the points. And so this guy...
actually, the points came out. This guy, the Storm, is 400 points, and C is 440. We got some of the points. All the points came out today, actually. I was going to talk about that in the video going to be releasing soon.
Okay.
For Deepkin.
So I know we're hopping around, but I did one other thing I wanted to talk about on the Deepkin. I had some screenshots here. So the Deepkin Forgotten Nightmares is some thing that they have. So in this, we found out was all army wide, and so basically, they're able to put all army wide. Missile weapons can only be used to target a Deepkin unit if the closest visible enemy. So basically, you can use definitely units to screen, and whoever's closest is who somebody has to shoot at. So they've got a lot of shooting protection.
It's like, you know how we were talking about the bubble wrapping, the Congo lining? It's like, this is exactly what that is going to be used with. You're going to be Congo lining your, I guess, your tar pit models, and just letting them get shot off the board to keep a lot of your key models safe. So
right.
There's going to be this is the ultimate bubble wrap, in my opinion. I mean,
it'll be interesting. And so the other thing that's interesting about this army is going to be the Tides of Death table that they revealed. And so basically, over 5 turns, the army has advantages every turn. So it starts off with low tide, and in this battle round, everybody is treated as in cover. And then the tide starts building. You get flood tide, which is second battle round. You can either shoot and charge, or shoot and run and shoot, or run and charge.
Mm-hmm.
And then the brutal one, which is the high tide, which is turn 3, essentially always strikes first, makes its return. So high elves used to have always strike first in the old edition. So this is basically all the Idoneth Deepkin units can fight before any other fighting is resolved, which is just
really good.
Really good. But I won't necessarily go into everything we think about that. And then the ebb tide, basically, tide going out, this emulates they can run away and then charge.
Yeah, when I like we knew something was going to be happening with the tides on when I first heard of it, I thought it was going to be more of movement shenanigans, but I am definitely a fan of this Tides of Death table. It seems very, very powerful.
Right. So the other thing we found out about the Idoneth, and I know that this, so more news has come out since we actually planned this video, but so basically we did see that one of the things Lotan can do is he can offer rerolls of 1s to hit.
Mm-hmm.
So all those guys are going to do that.
And the aspect of the sea or storm, one of them lets you reroll 1s on wounds. So, you know, you're getting these guys that are the thralls. You're having these guys that are 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, you know, 1 damage piece, 2 attacks each. And you're doing 3+ to hit, reroll 1s, 3+ to wound, reroll 1s if you're keeping them within the correct amount of inches for these abilities, and that just seems like a really good battle line.
Right. So as Mark alluded to, here's kind of the little thralls weapon stats here, and the reason I bring this up is I wanted to point out that gotta minimize this, but basically these guys are like the sword masters. If you look at sword masters of Hoth,
however you say it,
and you look at that, you can see that this battle line is pretty much identical. So this battle line, the attack with the greatsword, it's pretty much same number of attacks, same number of hit and wound, rend, and damage. And so that is, I guess you said the points did come out today, but I was thinking these guys are probably going to be a little bit less points than sword masters because of some of the specialties the sword masters have, and these guys sword masters have a little higher bravery and a better save. But yeah, so this is I was going to say pretty similar. If you've used the Elven Sword Masters before that, you can see how this is, which was, I think, quite a powerful unit back then. And that's really just their battle line unit is going to be that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Sword Masters are 180 points, and it came out today that the Thralls are going to be 140 points, I believe. So kind of in line what we were thinking, because the Sword Masters have a little bit more abilities than the Thralls from what, if you look at the entire War Scroll of the Thrall, like they don't have a musician like the Sword Masters do, and the Sword Masters have like an inherent built-in ability to like deflecting or like re-roll where you have to have guys near the Thralls to buff them to get the re-rolls. So
right,
it makes sense that they're less points.
So I just want to point out in this video, in this picture here, you can see the turtle that is back here, and the guy on the horse, the unicorn seahorse, and is that a shark?
Yeah, I think it's called like the Alopex, I believe is what they're calling them.
So yeah, they haven't announced those, but I guess those will probably be going on order in the next week or two.
I would assume that this is wave 2. It actually came out today that I believe the shark is going to be a single unit, 140 points for just the one shark. So I thought it'd be more like a unit of 3, like we see with the eels. But it looks to just be one.
Kind of like a named character almost.
Yeah, almost like a Hell Pit Abomination-esque type thing. It's like a behemoth-y thing, I guess.
Okay. So I guess that's pretty much it as far as what we wanted to go through today. And we're going to try and do these one show a week, probably every weekend. I think Mark was talking about trying to record a show more about the Deepkin and what we know.
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a little more tactical depth detail about the statistics. So that's it for now. Mark, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Actually, just with the whole AdeptiCon thing, you know,
I don't want to sound
it
negative.
was no, no. I mean, yeah, I don't think you sounded negative. I think it's all just constructive criticism. But I come from I used to be an MTG grinder, Magic the Gathering, and that game is very competitive. A lot of kind of basically like you kind of try and screw your opponent over, honestly. And in this tournament, I think me and my dad both had the idea like we're going to be going up against these hardcore gamers that are going to be almost rude in a way. And I think we both were blown away by how nice everyone was and how cool. And it was just the total opposite of what I expected coming from a Magic the Gathering background. I don't know if that is possibly because of the friendship score, basically, or if the community is that great. I think the community is it's just a really good community, and I'm glad that we're doing this and we can add to it, and I hope we can just build something. We can just build a community together, and hopefully this can become a almost staple in the Warhammer community. And I think that's just something really cool.
Right. So yeah, you know, like I said, I had some maybe constructive criticism, and it wasn't really criticism about AdeptiCon. It was just kind of not knowing what I was supposed to be doing.
Us as noobs.
Us as noobs. But it was almost like the week up to AdeptiCon, I was almost kind of like going, man, I don't really want to do this because I'm just going to go there and whatever.
We've both had bad experiences with Magic.
Right. And man, I came out of there going, this was great. And in fact, Mark and I, we had so much fun. We're going to be going down to NashCon, I guess, which is the first weekend of June. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to be there for the Saturday, Sunday portion. But yeah, I mean, just the community was great. And getting to meet some of the people that I've listened to over the years on various podcasts and everything, that was pretty cool. But Mark mentioned that he's sort of is coming from a competitive Magic background, and I should say, I don't know if you see that thing back there. Maybe it's pointed.
Blue hat.
The blue hat. Yeah, that I used to play Starfleet battles competitively, you know, and the rule book was, you know, about this thick.
Bigger than the old fantasy rule book.
Right, and it was tense. Those games it was just tense. You'd be like, oh my God, this is horrible. And I didn't feel that the whole time at AdeptiCon. And there was certainly community and camaraderie in the Starfleet Battles community. But I think it was kind of like you had to earn your, and I think you sort of have the same thing in the Magic community, Mark, where you had to earn or be part of the in club. And I didn't feel that at all up at with Age of Sigmar. It was like, man, you were welcomed with open arms. And I don't know if that was because, you know, basically everybody just knows that, you know, look at your army and they go, wow, you've really put a lot of work into this. And didn't really have had everybody I talked to either about coming on this show or about how to paint or how to play, more than willing to try and help you, and not trying to keep their stuff secret, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, the community, thumbs up for the community. I thought it was great. AdeptiCon, I enjoyed the heck out of it. I think we're going to try and do a future show where we talk about our games and what happened. The big sneak peek or whatever is, I guess I won 2 games.
I also won 2.
3. So we each went 2 and 3. Mark got higher scores because he was able to get objectives that I didn't. But you know, hey, I was just happy to win a game at that point. So
I think we both, honest to God, came into AdeptiCon saying, man, I don't think we're going to win a single game.
Yeah, because we hadn't really been able to play very much. I don't think our community, and we're in St. Louis, is very I don't want to say the right word, skilled tournament or focused on tournaments. People just sort of play when they can up at local game shops, and it's just sort of pick up stuff. So there's not a lot of big strategy learning going on. And you know, I've watched a lot of the videos online, but to be honest, most of those are not strategic until you actually start watching maybe some of the stuff going on Twitch for the Warhammer community. So we've been going about an hour, and so I wanted to go ahead and I guess we'll go ahead and call it here. Thanks everybody for watching, and hopefully we can keep this going. Sigmar and Sun. We might have some Sun only episodes. We might have some episodes with me only. We've got some guests lined up, and we'll try and put a schedule out for those and go from there. So that's it for today. Mark, do you have anything to add?
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and Mark's going to get a new vid camera.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's awful.
Cam before that. And we're going to try and get some, right now we're just doing the Google Hangouts and chat, but we're going to try and go get some better equipment for these too, I think.
Yes. Oh, we can promise. Production quality will be upped. Structure will be upped. I think we probably suffered a little bit of rambling and a little bit of jumping around tonight, but bear with us.
Right. Yeah,
hopefully it wasn't too bad.
All over the place. So even though I had a structure here that we didn't necessarily follow. So that's it for now. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.